This episode was sponsored by Eon. I haven't made a thing yet, sorry. Alrighty, welcome everyone. I'm Teeaboo and I am here for Made in Abyss episode 3. I am going to apologize in advance because I'm probably going to be a bit chaotic and symbolic in this episode for a variety of reasons, not least of which being the lack of sleep, because I didn't really sleep last night. I did some tossing and some turning, but mostly no sleep. And the reason for that is because last night was Halloween! A wonderful, wonderful holiday that's gone, finally, and we get to move into horrifying Christmas land. I don't know about your neck of the woods, but here in Murica, we do the Halloween for like 2 months leading up to the end of October, and then it immediately becomes Christmas time on November 1st, and it is now Christmas time, and all the stores are going to sell Christmas stuff, and all the houses are going to put out their inflatable fucking Christmas things, and it's just going to become Christmas. No, there's no time for Thanksgiving. No, there are no other months in between. Fuck you, November. Get fucked, November. Get fucked, November. Get fucked, November. Get fucked most of December, honestly. Most of December just gets shoved into Christmas time, too. And the thing just goes. Alright, that's my spiel about Christmas. Last night was Halloween. I spent the night riding around on a unicycle dressed as a spaceman, imaged here, throwing candy. I'd like to say to children, but really it was more like throwing it at children. I joke a little bit. I tossed candy gently at any toward any child who went whoa as I passed by, because that was the rule that I went through. I bought a $5 bag of Milky Ways and a $6 bag of Starbursts, and I still have a bunch of them. It's amazing how much fucking sugar you can buy with pennies, but the state of food availability in the nation is not here nor there. I rode around, found a couple of like big Halloween neighborhoods where they sort of go all out and are kind of gung-ho about it. And man, I discovered the difference between all the neighborhoods that just have Halloween stuff out and the neighborhoods that fucking trick or treat, man. They've got all the whole house is outside and dressed like Freddy Krueger and they're coming after you and cars are going super fun. So rode around all night. Also took some LSD. Probably should mention that that's the reason I didn't sleep, and also the reason that it's still a little bit in my system and the lights are off and I'm sitting here in the dark a little bit. Yeah. That said, I'm gonna watch Made in Abyss anyway. It would be tempting and maybe easy to just turn away from it and be like, I'll just leave this for another day when I'm all sober and totally sleepy and everything is good. But, well, that's ridiculous, because in truth and fairness, fair and balanced TMCR, shout out to Cody Johnston. In all fair and balancedness, I think I can do this, and I think I'll probably be as good at it or better at it than usual. That has been the case before. So that's what I'm gonna do, is I'm gonna watch some Made in Abyss. Whole bunch of stuff happened in the last episode, even if it was kind of like, how do I put it? To me, the episode was less about things occurring and far more about things discovered, things unearthed, things found out about our society that our characters kind of already knew, but we didn't really know, and the way that we're introduced to them demonstrates a lot to us about the way that we treat people and white whistles in particular, and the whole hierarchy of authority and capacity and ability to go down into the depths, the backstory and history of our main characters literally being made in the abyss. Also, Reg was also made in the abyss, so there's something going on here for sure. Weird fucking pussy crystals? That sounds wrong. I should cut that, right? I'm not gonna cut that. That's what it was. What the fuck was that? And the most fundamental rule, it seems, of our world, which is you can go down as far as you want. It's the return trip that gets you. So the answer, it seems, would always be further down, right? If you get to a point in the abyss and you haven't found what you needed yet, you could go back up, but there will be threat, there will be changes, there will be problems, you will fall apart. What that actually means is kind of unclear, but it was pretty well established. You die. Yeah, you go down far enough and you come back up, you die. So, more trips down, less of you comes back up. And yet people choose to do this, because of course they do. It's so interesting. It's like, it's an allegory that's offset from what it's actually representing in such an interesting way that it evokes all of these ideas that I have about work and about commitment to certain ways of being. Like, you follow a particular path down a particular road, and you can't get back to the person that you were. Like, you fundamentally change no matter which direction you go. There's no real turning back. But it's offset from those in a way that makes some... It's tasty allegorically. It's got the sauce to it, but I can't identify the flavor. And there's something actually even more compelling about that than being like, wow, that's a really good béarnaise, or that's a really good brown sauce. It's like, this sauce is amazing. I don't know what it is. And a lot of Made in Abyss sort of feels like that. All right, we've got our food metaphor built in. It's not a burger. It's not a burger without beef. It's the sauce. It's the sauce. It's the untastable. What is that? What is that flavor that I'm flavoring? I don't know. Comments. I'm just gonna flow with it and do weird transitions here. Forgive me. I am going to be all weird. I'm gonna be weird. I am weird. It's what happened. I rode around on a fucking unicycle dressed as a spaceman throwing candy at children last night. And then spent the rest of the night riding by a river, hanging out, and turning off all the lights on the unicycle and all the speakers and just riding in total silence amongst chattering crickets and honking geese. It was great. Made in Abyss. Kriai, keep in mind that simply going deeper inside the abyss is fine. It's trying to return to the surface that triggers the curse. Yeah, that's super fucking interesting. It really does. It folds into a bunch of half represented pieces of my worldview regarding choice and moving forward toward things. Like, this inability to move backward, to move back up, to return home is... There's something about it that really sits at the root of me, or hits at the root of me, and I'm not sure about it yet. I'm just going to point at it because I think it's really interesting as a piece of story, and I'm sure that it's going to be used to further the means of the story as we go on. It really does say, narratively, that if we get a certain level down in the abyss, there is no return. It's like built into the framework of our story. You can't return. And man, it's like a perfect allegory for childhood, you know? You start getting darker and you don't stop getting darker. You just get more used to the dark or something like that. Woofy woofy. Okay, so I made a point last episode about time being a thing that inevitably pulls you down in a direction. And that fits and folds into the stuff that we're already talking about. And I'm reminded of it because of a comment by Fotoshiki, who points at that and says, that was a really deep thought. You just opened a Pandora's box in my mind. Fucking awesome. That is kind of my goal in some ways. That which normally pulls you toward your inevitable journey is time. A wonderfully worded and very true statement. But in this show, it is actually gravity that pulls you in, not time. Because unlike normal adventures, our journey is not horizontal, it is vertical. We will stay in the same place, the abyss, only changing depth, both physically and metaphorically. And probably psychologically. Just like time only flows in one direction, the abyss only lets you travel downwards. If you go in a bit, you can pull back with only minor burdens, but the deeper you go, or back to the timeout analogy, the longer you stay on a path in your life, the more difficult it becomes to go back. I have to think a lot more about this in the upcoming episodes. The relationship of gravity and time and the inversion of both compared to normal adventure stories is a fascinating theme to explore. Let's see how deep it runs. There's even a beautiful song in the OST called Gravity. Coincidence? I think not. I feel like if you didn't title a song in the OST Gravity, you'd be in a show with a giant pit that our characters are inevitably going to tumble down into. It's like, woof. Woof. Yeah, you have to. the longer you stay on a path in your life, the more difficult it becomes to go back. Sunk costs, baby. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's true. Okay, let's take a metaphor. Shit, I hate that. Meanalogy? Nope. A thing related to me that relates to this. Okay. Years ago, I decided to stop doing the computer programming because I don't actually like it very much, and I really wanted to talk about art, and I saw that this was a viable way to do that. I have since then been doing this. I'm now 5 years down that path. If I were to want to return, it would be a hell of a journey to try to get back to it, partly because now my resume has this big gap of YouTuber. Ridiculous. No, you get stuck on the paths that you get stuck on, even if those paths are freedom, you know? And I'm not complaining about it, not even in the slightest. I'm so glad to be doing what I'm doing. It's the best thing in the entire world, I think. But just like everybody else, the more commitment I put into one thing, the less I can do something else. The less I can move back, retrace steps, and go in a different direction. So there's something really nailed about the reality that we live in, the nature of existence. Last night, I was riding down the Arroyo, which is a paved road next to the river that goes east-west through my town. And I went off of a side street and down the Arroyo a ways and stopped at a portion where there's a bit of a waterfall because it sounded really pretty and I wanted to stop and sort of sit there and think and let the silence come in. When I stopped, I turned around, having ridden for a couple minutes, and I turned around and I could easily see the point at which I had started, the street, the cross street, where the lights are, and I could easily see it. I felt like I was far, far away from everything else, but I realized that somebody standing there on the bridge of the cross street that I had taken could have easily just watched me the whole time. I felt like I had moved away completely from the place where I had started, and yet there it was, right there behind me, and I was able to look back at it. And as I sat there, I thought about that. That's the distance from there to here, and I can really feel it and really see it. Eventually, I got up from my little sit-down by the river and continued on. 30 feet in front of me, there was a set of benches that I could have been sitting on instead of sitting on the ground. I facepalmed. I don't know what that story has to do with anything, but there's something about the ability to look back at where you came, the inability to go there, and the complete confidence that sitting down right where I was sitting down was a good thing to do because I didn't know that there were benches 30 feet further down the way. There's something about that I just had to bring up, and it feels like it's relevant, but I don't know exactly how, so I'm just going to throw the weird anecdote here, and now it exists in the body of the stuff that I've said on the internet. And maybe it'll have some relevance to our episode. I don't know. Dopamine Cloud writes, Episode 1, Hi, welcome to the world. There's a big pit, by the way. Episode 2, So, you want to get down in that pit yet? Ruslan Honcharenko. I find it interesting how Orth society is unsettling to us, but totally normal for them. Stuff like casual white whistle propaganda, child labor, profit by relic selling, and all is presented as a matter of fact without negative or positive connotation. It's not a major focus or something that our heroes fight against. Instead, it more points out that exploring the unknown and being driven by the abyss is something the vast majority of society shares regardless of their position. The theme of longing is very crucial to this series, and Abyss provides both light and darkness to those who choose to be swallowed by it. Yeah, it's pretty fucking good. That's pretty fucking good. Yep. It feels weird. But it also feels like being an alien who shouldn't be criticizing this society, you know? It's like being a full outsider and pointing at it and being like, they're so backwards and wrong. And at the same time, it's like, you know, so are we. Their wrong is just in a way that's sort of simple and, well, no, it's not even simple or obvious. How do I put this? I don't know. Lights. Hair be gone. Shlaka-laka. Well, this is gonna be simple. Well, no, it's not. I'm gonna not fuck this up this time. I'm gonna look up Rico's character design before I actually draw her. And her own little red whistle. Fear no moon man. Fell down like a wolf where a wolf pass. That was cool. Oh boy. Well, I like that. It feels weird, but the thing that stands out to me is that I decided for whatever fucking stupid reason to fill in the white whistle with darkness, and also to make that the same darkness that is the pit that instead of being below our character is looming behind her like it's ready to That's what I see here. I don't know what you see here, but I see a gaping maw, toothy and slavering, ready to consume tiny children, and using their mom's artifacts to draw them in. What does the abyss get out of this shit? Probably nothing. It's probably not conscious. That's probably not how it works, and it's probably weird for me to, like, anthropomorphize it as though it's a conscious entity, unless... Alright, folks, we're all set and ready to go. I've got Made in Abyss Episode 3 up and ready. It's 0 seconds. There will be 2 versions. We're going to find out maybe what's going on in that letter, and it's most certainly going to draw us deeper into the pit. So let's see what happens. I've got the episode up. I already said that. There will be 2 versions, picture-in-picture in the description, timer on YouTube, beep beep timer to count you down. Support the channel on Patreon and get early access to the next week's episode if you'd like to. And... beep beep timer down into the darkness, or the goofy fun times. You know, they both happen. It's fine. Aha! Scheming. Oh, she just swiped it? Are you fucking out of your mind? Are you out of your mind? Nice. Ugh. What if she's waiting for something else? What if it's not for you? Ah. Ah. This was my goal from the start. Yeah, you don't get it, dude. I care about you. I love you. Oh, I know. What are you crying about? You? Oh, sweet. Yeah, and there were drawings of you, dude. I'm just gonna test something. I think I might want the better headphones for this. Wow, that's a big difference. Yeah. I stopped wearing these because they're heavy on my head, and they sometimes pass through and come into the mic. But it's worth it when I can hear this. The darkness from which there's no escape has different meaning now. I still am most curious about that spinning city with a beam of light in it. Also, the Mecha Knight dude. What the heck? There's so much. There's so much unique and interesting stuff. There we go. Awful. What? Iron Rain? Hmm. Hmm. Reg was watching her? Like, aha, what? Are hollows what happens if you go into the abyss and come back? Or something? What the hell's... Why are you doing that? Oh, to find goods and treasures. The giant gravestone? Oyoyo? Oyoyoyo! What? Like any other? It's a bouncy ball. I think it's a bouncy ball. Oh, he dropped it. Okay. Absolutely not. Uh-huh. Junk cells. Skeletons? Can we get an explanation on skeletons? The great leader not. Ah, good. Can we get any kind of explanation? Don't. Oh no. He's already twitching. Good. He sweats? Huh? That the plot will be good. My greatest wish is that there will be a good plot with answers. I love it. I love it. You actually align a character's prime motivation with find the plot. That's fucking brilliant. That's cute, Nat. It's cute. Guys, she still hasn't even married me. These little kids throwing weight around is amazing. That seems very effective. uh. Oh, wow. Oh, he's getting the sickness? Holy shit, yep. And just fully unaffected watching the others go through it. And Rico's almost unaffected too, right? Oh, he's trying so hard. Man. Man, you can have all the questions you want. Why doesn't that silhouette? You mean you? It's probably you. Me too, man. Yep, me too. That's good. That's really good. I really like that idea. Just put one of your primary character's motivations directed in the direction that you want the story to go. Huh? But I haven't even confessed my love. It's by my own choice. She actually didn't. Not even a little bit. I'm so surprised. Oh. Nope. Oh, God, no. Awful. God, staying. 100%. Oh, thank God. No, are you gonna tell us? Tell us more. Map out the road ahead, please. Yeah, relics. I don't know what anything is. Yeah. Yep. I'll just keep climbing. Was that a line from somewhere else? It feels like a line. Okay. Tell us all of it. Unroll the big scroll. Yes. Seems like a lot. The dragon lady? Haw. I've seen this, but I don't know anything about it. It's just pictures, right? That is far. It's almost a mile? 5,280 feet, yeah. It's not almost a mile. It's getting there, though. Forest of Temptation? Whoa! And dangerous for everybody else, too. Whoa. So you pass through there and it's over. Awesome. Giant mushrooms? Waterfalls of waterfalls? This is so cool! You know, you have to have so much confidence to lay this all out. But we don't know. Oh. Okay. That's really important. Even though they get twisty. As though they're totally infallible? What if it's not? Oof. Whatever you say. You're gonna die. She's already dead. Ah. You just went way too far, bro. Ah, you made the child cry. I mean, you're right, but you're not supposed to be mean when you're right. Just don't go tell them out. Please don't rat on them, man. Or my nose. Nah. Reg is so mature. Oh. Yeah. Yeah. I think he will. Yeah. Mel, what a result! What a solve! Thanks, Arm. Hmm. Something you need to do? He's gonna steal another piece of the note? I don't understand. What do you have to do, buddy? Gosh, this environment is awesome. Rat. I smell a rat. Don't look in any mirrors, kid. That's fucking crazy. Why? Alright, man. But now I'm terrified for QE. Ha! Out. You don't sleep. Oh, no, he doesn't know. When nature calls. It all fits. It all fits because she's such a goof. Ah. Ah, I thought he was gonna force the escort. That was good. Nice and tense. We made it? We just made it? Nope. Yeah, we just made it. We're here. Nobody's here to stop us. Where's Nat? Is he coming with us? Is he trying to come with us? You will die. Aww. Oh! That was quick. No, I really wanted to forgive you. Aww. Aww. So we're not saying goodbye yet. Of course. Just more important to be friends. Are we not gonna, like, explode or get eaten by something at the end of the episode and fall apart and everything explodes? That's interesting. All was so optimistic. Or she was getting eaten by a seven-tailed scorpion. Oh my god, these backgrounds have continuously been amazing. What dilapidation on dilapidation on dilapidation. Wow. Dark figures in dark places. With hollow eyes. Mm-hmm. Looking at it as a way out, huh? Oh, lucky. Oh, oh yeah, it's poverty. Oh my goodness. There are 3 minutes left. Leader, drop something for you? Yeah, but everybody else is gonna think that it's hearsay slash heresy. Oh, you finally gonna say it? You gonna ruin it? You gonna actually say the truth? Come on, man. Oh, you can't even. It's the last chance. You gotta say the thing. No, she's gonna misinterpret. It probably couldn't wait. I don't know what it was, but Leader put that in his bag, right? Oh man, I think so. I don't know. Lots of good news coming. Woof into darkness. Yeah. Forever connected by the abyss, huh? And we're gonna find out next week, baby. Wow. Awesome. What a spectacle. I kind of felt like something was gonna pull them into the abyss without their choice. Like they would fall in some way. I'm really glad that it's not like that. It's a wholehearted decision against some of the wishes of their friends for their own individual reasons. From the beginning, I have to say that I think that the choice to have Reg's whole set of desires be find out who I am and what's going on, and his putting that next to going down to the bottom of the abyss will find me those answers is amazing, because it really truly takes our character and aligns them with the plot. Otherwise, it's like, even in the best examples of this, when you've got one gung-ho shonen protagonist character who's like, I'm gonna go that way, which Rico is, whether she's female or not, doesn't matter. It's still the same sort of deal, same sort of mindset. Getting other characters to hitch their rides to that train is kind of hard, and usually it feels like they're jumping on the coattails of the main character and like, I'm gonna be part of a team, right? Having Reg have his own separate motivation that's particularly his and just happens to go in the same direction is really cool, and I think it opens up the door to potential conflicts deep into the abyss, as our characters have maybe different things that they're seeking. Well, Hollows? That's a piece of the note that we didn't hear before. Super interested in that. I think that the idea that junk, even if it's junky relics, it still sells to the people who don't know what's going on because it's got some rarity or novelty, is like, it's another one of those offset allegories that's kind of weird and interesting and right. It's like, hey, why is it that the people from overseas will pay inordinate amounts of money for these dumb rocks that we keep finding? That's weird. Why do they care so much about these rocks that are pretty common here, but I guess they're pretty rare everywhere else? Yeah, that's about right. And it leads to total changes and a weird way of looking at the world. Oh gosh. Those are just a couple of the thoughts that I had that I just had to get out immediately. Um to me, this episode reads visually as like cross lines. Dilapidated bits of wood all piled on top of each other. All of the elements of the orphanage feel like they're kind of chaotic and sketchy in some semblance of a way. I don't know. There's something about the visual tone of the episode that feels different, at least from the second half onward, as we evaluate the map and then head into this sort of space, and then the wharf district sort of space. All of these like foreground objects and things that add detail to various scenes, bits of rope and things at odd angles. It all feels, I don't know what it feels like, but it's really most poignant or most noticeable in the wharf district. And this shot, I think, is the one that stands out the most to me. I think it's really cool. I think it's really amazing that a scene with relatively low contrast can be so strong. It's got such a strong set of lines to it. It feels so potent. This bridge across is like a real bridge of no return out into a different place. And yet it's all folded into the backdrop of all this chaotic, clustered, dilapidated, self-building stuff. It's like looking at a garbage pile that's been there for years and years and years. Oh, man. And then total darkness. Again, this use of contrast in the morning light to create this stark darkness and this very clear dividing line that, like, well, you go in there and you're gone. And then that becomes absolutely perfect as they fade into true nothingness down here. Foof. And then the arm itself, foof. And any semblance is gone. And then all of Nat's communication will still be connected. You and me, we're going to be connected forever by the abyss, by the place that I'm going that's taking me away from you. Is super interesting after we've laid out all the ways in which we will absolutely in no way be connected. You can't come back. If you send up a message, nobody's going to believe it. They're going to view you as a fool and a heretic with hearsay. So even if we go 2 levels down into the abyss and find out that everything is not right anymore, like all is weird, and we send that up as information. First off, we can't return to send that up as information. Although, Reg could, right? And maybe Nat could, given her own being born in the abyss thing. Maybe not. We can't send that up as information. And even if we do, nobody's going to believe us. And that means that if we do send up something really interesting, that could set off a B plot of, like, attempting to create change on the upside as Shiggy and some of the others, like, try to convince people that the thing that they sent up is real. Oh, that's so freaking cool. But it makes this incredibly potent emotional moment where our main character really states her thing, I'm just getting started, is so shonen protagonisty and potent. But it's all on the, we're still connected, it's all going to be fine, which I don't think is what Nat was going to say to her. It's like she hits him back with the propaganda. Oh my gosh. Words cannot describe how much cuteness is in this episode. From characters bowling each other over, like when Reg finds the skeleton and runs over and tackles Nat out of fear, or here as they fumble bumble at each other as they're both crying. Bam, 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 bam. There's something really amazing about making children move like they're noodles, like they're made of noodles. It makes them feel so childish. I really like it. I really like it. I think it's very, very exceptionally cute. The OP continues to be a stunner. We get some information about some stuff, but not the stuff that I wanted. I really wanted to know what theories we had about the praying skeletons. They're from 2,000 years ago. They've been dated, and they're all in the same pose. That's interesting. But then, why? What? It's such an interesting mystery. I don't even have a place to, like, sink my teeth into it. I could just point at it and go, that's super cool. What does it mean? Maybe we'll find out. It's another one of those soft promises that's like, hey, this world's got so much interesting stuff in it. You haven't even seen the first drop of the first bit of any of it. Come along and maybe some answers will occur. Which, stepping back, puts you and me in the same position that I just praised the show for putting Reg in, where our motivation as characters who invest ourselves in this story is to find out the answers to the story. We desperately want our characters, despite it probably being a thing that's going to kill them, cause them all sorts of misery and harm and death and destruction and stuff, I do at least, we desperately want them to go to the bottom of the abyss and find all the answers. We've had a set of really interesting questions presented in front of us, and the route to getting answers to those questions, which is now necessary, and I will not die without having those questions answered, is to watch the rest of the show. So I'm invested in the show, which is invested in the characters being invested in going down, which means I'm invested in going down to the bottom of the abyss as well. That's beyond clever. It's beyond clever. God, these landscapes. Continuously, everything has way more depth than most anime. our characters are placed in three-dimensional space so often. I don't just mean like on a couple of layers of 2D planes that makes it kind of feel like they're in 3D. It's like three-dimensional fucking space, man. It's like looking at the Windows XP desktop background, except that it goes on further. It's really cool. Everything feels really real, even while being utterly cartoonish. It's a continuation of that masking effect thing that we were talking about with McLeod, but it just keeps stunning me. I'm going to keep mentioning it, partly because at some point I'm going to stop noticing it, and that's going to be a damn shame, but like a frog in hot water, in gradually heated water, I'm just going to become used to the amazing art of it. It's never going to like escape me completely, but I will probably stop noticing it as much. So, while it's still obvious and fresh to me, I just want to keep pointing at it and saying, good God, where did they get the budget? Where did they get the budget to make this show so detailed and pretty? And it's so beyond important for giving us this sense of looming scale, you know? This big three-dimensional background that we were just looking at, or these over here, are all pitifully small compared to the actual scope of the whole that lurks next to it. Whoa. And they're just one of many, 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 many descending little bits and outcroppings and ledges and layers. And all of that's still just at the edge. Our characters really have no idea what they're in for, and neither do we. I love it. I think that the lighting of this scene in particular is really pretty, partly because it's mimicking heading into golden hour, but I just think it's really pretty. There's something about the cobbled bricks and the edge lighting on the plants up above and the little bits of flour. Again, it manages to not be super high contrast or really like extraordinarily colorful in a very anime way. A lot of anime is very vibrant, colorful. There's like no red in this scene. There's blue, but it's all in the blue gray of the bricks. The green is just the base green of the layer of plants and stuff, and everything else is sort of right surrounding it. It's either deepening into dark and gray or lightening up into the light yellow gray of the sky, but it still manages to be beautiful and have a lot of depth to it without an immense amount of over anime-y contrast. It makes it feel so much more real. Makes it feel so much more real than candy-colored characters, you know? And then the warmth of inside. Goofy gags and goop. I think Reg is continuously really mature in his way of evaluating interpersonal conflicts, and I actually admire it, I think, is the feeling that I have. It's like the kind of way that I would like to try to help handle such things. It's really cool. He keeps seeing these emotional blow-ups happen and takes a really cool, calm, collected demeanor toward them. Shiggy is like our information guy who knows what's going on but steps away from the conflicts, it seems. But Reg is willing to get right up in them and communicate directly to Nat's heart. I'm sorry, to Rico's heart, and make it all come together in a really, really lovely way. I think that there's a line about I want to make up with him. I of course I'll forgive him. This will be so easy. I want to make up with him. Followed up by Rico's immediate I forgive you is so fucking cute. It's like I think it's such a good representation of the way that conflict resolution can and should go, and most of the time both sides are feeling that way exactly and are desperate to resolve the conflict and return to some degree of peace. So rarely in my own life when I've tried to either apologize or accept apologies or evaluate and return to a made-up state of a relationship or a friendship, so often it is a huge relief for both parties, and all of the fear around approaching the situation just sort of evaporates. And I think that's a really potent lesson to learn. You had to go through the map. I don't even I have no nothing. This is so cool. It's, how do I put it? I think that the tendency for authors would be to hold your cards, right? Withhold, because you water down the mystery by telling us too much about what's to come, right? You can't just lay out the layers of the abyss. Aren't we going to explore them and find out for ourselves what they consist of? Yes. But we're going to do so with the bare framework that we've been given, and what it really does is tickles the fancy in the back of your mind. It gives you enough seeds of information to get your brain really spinning, get you going. The forest of temptation? Temptation to what? Forest of what? Is it actually trees? Maybe they're not trees, because there's a bunch of other stuff that doesn't look like it's what you're calling it, and it's really interesting. But it also comes with all of these explanations of what the levels do to you and the way that everyone else will see you once you go there. They will cause you more problems, but more importantly, maybe, people will stop listening to you completely. You won't even be able to get a balloon up. And if you do, everybody's going to view it as hearsay. That scares the crap out of me. Once you go down this path, you'll be viewed as a suicide. Nobody will be coming to get you. And they'll view anything that you say or send back as a lie or a falsehood. Not because they hate you, but because you can't help it. You're just one of the abyss people now. Maybe a hollow. Maybe that's the word for it. Ugh. Then there is the inverted forest, right? Inverted forest. Horizontal, inverted forest, where the trees grow downward and there's lots of dangerous wildlife. Freaking awesome. Air currents are unstable and huge predators fill the skies. Like the giant monsters that we've seen already. I can't wait. Then, I don't even know what this is in terms of the look of the thing. Are we looking up at the inverted forest? Or down through it? I don't know. But you're going to face a big freaking cliff, which I guess you'll have to climb. Thank gosh you'll have Reg with you. 4,000 meters. Black whistles and above to the goblets of giants, which look like giant trees or mushrooms with waterfalls coming off of them. Spectacular idea. And then those waterfalls seem to cascade into these rushing multi-Niagaras of... And this is the domain of white whistles alone. And this also looks like the place where the OP shows us the city with the... Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. And then, one layer down, the capital of the unreturned. The city at the bottom. And a place that probably is thriving. It's probably great down there. Okay, all of this, I have to just point at and say it reminds me immensely of the Undermountain in Dungeons & Dragons, which is also a multi-layered, explorable dungeon where each layer has really a strong theme to it, and indeed each layer kind of has a boss to it, and like a person or a character or a monster that really runs the place, and each one is thematically, dramatically different. There's one that's a giant forest that's all just a gorgeous underground forest, and there's one that's like arcane weird shit, and there are a bunch of crazy layers down there, and it reminds me of this. Even down to a creepy underground city of creepy people who want to live in the underground. Super cool. And what we see is like, just like the Wharf District that we saw before, this like collapsing dilapidation down into gears and stuff. I don't know, but I am excited to find out what's down beyond it. And then we kind of just leave it off. Anybody else go any lower? We don't know. We actually don't know. White whistles have gone lower, but they rarely get balloons up. And we don't talk much about what information they have sent up, because we're coming up against the edge of the unknown. And that... So, I got some criticism on making a bunch of assumptions about stuff, or calling it a tendency toward logical fallacies that Nat keeps taking two unrelated things and linking them in her mind and generating a causal link there. here's another example of it, because it keeps happening, and it's an important character trait that I'm not criticizing the show or even I keep calling her Nat, even criticizing Rico for it. It's just an important part of who she is. Even if a white whistle loses their life, they live on as a voice at the abyss and guide the rest of us. And her response is, I knew it. That letter is the real thing. As though, like, one, as though that were up in the air, and two, as though the fact that only white whistles can send up letters means, like, it validates the letter, and also means that everything in the letter is true, accurate, and meant for her, right? This is not, this is I gotta get that guy out of the story so that I stop calling our main character by his name. Fuck. This is Rico's, like, one of her core tendencies. She wants to align everything into her own heroic narrative, right? My mom was this great hero. I'm destined to become a great hero. After all, I came from the abyss. It's destiny because I found this compass, and also this robot appeared for me, and it's all leading me on the path that I must follow. I have to go this way. That letter is real, and also it's from my mom, and also it's directed directly at me, and it's asking me to go down there, and this is all totally unsubstantiated by the evidence in front of her. All of the causal links that she keeps generating don't exist. She's making them up, right? Like, this and that are dissimilar. They're really separate. It's like A leads to B, but B doesn't lead to A. Rico keeps B leading to A-ing, you know? It's really interesting. It's crucial for her to put things together and generate this story that functions to propel her forward in the direction that she wants to go anyway. But it's backwards. It's backwards a lot of the time. It's really interesting. No matter what you say, I'm still going. Oh, and he says the thing. She dead, bro. And I think he's right. But you can't say it. Complicated, huh? Gotta be careful what you say and how you do. You really want to leave on a bad note? No! I will absolutely forgive him. And so we mend our fences, mend our ties, before we leave in a really cute way. I thought, oh man, it got me with the like spooky story at the beginning. That kind of vibe. I felt like Nat was going to do something stupid and be already down half a layer into the abyss, right? Having climbed halfway down there, and they find him as they descend. They're like, bro, we got to send you back up and you're going to puke a bunch or something crazy like that. Or use him as an example and have him just tumble into darkness. Oh, well, bye, buddy. Use that as our kickoff into horror. But instead it ends up being the most wholesome fucking thing that it could possibly ever be. And I like it. I really like it. It also terrifies me because it keeps not hitting me with the dank darkness. And I understand this is something that's fucked in my head because I was told that the show is going to get dark. But really, it's just because the show keeps being dark and terrifying. Our main character almost got eaten by a giant floating snake dragon in the first episode. It's like, I expect, and death is everywhere in this world and totally normalized. We send children down into the abyss and they get materially harmed by it, and we're totally fine with their child labor and harm. Like, things are already dark here. I expect them to get darker, but I keep waiting for the Truck-kun moment, the like sudden explosion of bad juju, and that never happens. And that I'm glad of, because even if I'm wrong about the way that it will happen or how dark it will get, it's keeping me in suspense in a way that's very compelling and a lot of fun, and I'm really enjoying it. So this is not a complaint in any way, shape, or form. It's just the way that I'm watching the show, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. Okay. Seeing the Wharf Quarter and the desire to dive into the abyss, to me, reaffirms what we're doing. It's like, we're pursuing the grand goal. The goal that everyone wants in this city. From the lowest of the low to the highest of the high, they all want to be white whistles and descend deeper into the abyss. For wealth and fame and fortune, for exploring and information, for all the reasons that one might reason, everybody's pointed in this direction. And that aligns a little bit with our real world in some weird way. everybody has different goals that we're moving toward, but all of them have to do with this desire or this moving towards something thing. In this world, just the abyss is the cornucopia from which all of those desires are fulfilled, whereas in our own world, it's all in various different directions. But it feels very correct that everyone from every walk of life seems to find some similar set of desires and goals and then pursue them wholeheartedly and destroy themselves in the process. I mean, I'm doing it, you're probably doing it, and if you're not doing it, then maybe you're missing something. Maybe there's something out there that you should be seeking and yearning for and driving toward against all odds down into the darkness. Or maybe not. Maybe you should stay up where it's safe and not die in the big pit of mysteries. But that's up to you. I think that either way that you particularly choose, I think most people long for something worth longing for. And now our main characters get to go and actually fulfill it, and we get to live vicariously through them and explore their world through their eyes with their stakes. That's pretty freaking cool. And so was this episode. I think that's going to be a wrap, folks. I think that's going to be a wrap, folks. Thanks so much for joining me for this week's episode of Made in Abyss. I tried to talk about all the things that stood out to me as super interesting, and I certainly missed a ton of them. So if there are particular lines or things that I either said I wanted to talk about during the reaction and then didn't talk about it in the discussion, or just missed completely or whatever, throw them at me. I'd love to hear them. I really like the aesthetics of the episode. I really like the character movement of the episode. Nat forces a lot of interesting interactions from all the other characters. And finally, we descend into the darkness with only the unknown in front of us. We'll find out what lurks down there next week. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for putting up with my bullshit as I meander around talking. And I much appreciate your support and likes and comments and subscribes and stuff. Patreon in the description. See you next week for more Made in Abyss. Peace.